Today on the Metro York Morning Show, we will be meeting with several individuals from within our community to discuss a policy change that's currently in the works. The data will evaluate the school system in detection, prevention, and management in regards to children's physical, mental, and emotional health. The school system is currently eliminating essential positions such as vice principals and counselors, an action that the following team disapproves of. With more on this developing story, we're here with Megan to discuss the social determinants of health in regards to childhood development.
We're here today to discuss the social determinants of health which extend throughout the lifespan, particularly those beginning in childhood. We will examine how the socioeconomic status, social and physical environments, and lack of services in childhood cause health inequities which affect the individual throughout life. Socioeconomic status affects educational and social mobility, access to food, shelter, safety, exposure to drugs, trauma, and stress, and imbalances of emotion and social skills. Physiological differences arising from growing up in a disadvantaged status can affect cognitive development and block healthy neurological processes, causing them to become pathogenic. Social and physical environments, including the community, school, home, and vocational areas, affect youth's development. Exposure to trauma or toxic levels of stress have broad implications upon brain remodeling. Accumulation of risk factors increase the likelihood of mental health issues, substance abuse disorders, alcoholism, or criminal history. Lack of services such as childhood health promotion strategies and mental health surveillance allows the social injustice of the determinants of health to define the life path of the individuals from childhood. Access to counselors within the school systems could mediate the effects of the social determinants of health in childhood to stop the vicious reproduction of social class inequalities. Now we'll hear from Jessica within the community.
I'm here at a local senior public school speaking with Kate, who is the guidance counselor for the school. Hi, Kate.
Hi, Jessica.
I'm here to get your input on how the budget cuts are affecting your job and the student outcomes.
I definitely think budget cuts have impacted my job significantly. For instance, I used to be a guidance counselor for only this school, but now my time in the school has been cut to 2 half-days a week because I have 4 other schools in the area that I have to attend to as well. I think that this has impacted the students greatly, as we have seen more suspensions this year than in any other year. Most of these suspensions are with young girls, and we've seen it due to behavioral issues such as opposition to authority and even violence. I think that these cuts have also affected other jobs such as teaching assistants, which are crucial to some students' success.
Wow. So why do you believe that there isn't adequate funding for your position within the school?
I think that if we talk about this school in particular, it's in a relatively affluent area, and because of this, TDSB allocates less money to us than to other schools that are deemed higher risk. That said, we're not sure that there will even be any money in the budget for me next year at this school. And I think that this is scary since we've already seen the impact in behavior of me not being present in the school. And we must also acknowledge the competing, we have to consider the competing priorities of TDSB, such as repairs, supplies, and other programs that need funding. However, I strongly believe that supporting the healthy development of these children should be a priority.
So you believe that money is the biggest barrier?
I definitely think that the primary barrier to keeping my services in the school is definitely money, be it lack of funding from the government or how money is allocated to services by the school boards. I believe that I'm an important resource to the students and that allocating money to quality support for their personal educational development should take precedence. A study in particular has shown that children with conduct issues who don't receive support are likely to have impaired decision-making as a result of things like impulsivity, delayed aversion, heightened sensitivity to immediate reward, and propensity to risk-taking behaviors. And we've already seen at such a young age, like this school is only for 7 and 8, we've already had issues with substance abuse such as alcohol.
I'm currently at Tampain Public School. I've had the opportunity tonight to interview students, their parents, and teachers about this issue. Now, teachers believe that students encounter challenges in their home and social environment that are beyond teachers' capability to address or solve. They are in favor of guidance counselors to help students address these issues. Teachers believe that guidance counselors can also support teachers in the academic development of students. Guidance counselors can address behavioral problems among students and help them develop appropriate social skills. Teachers also address that there are a lot of families on social assistance within this school, and students are not getting adequate nutrition when they come to school and therefore lack attention in class. Now, guidance counselors can help these students to community resources such as food banks. So teachers are in favor of having guidance counselors work within the school system. Now, interviewing the students tonight, I've learned that students do not feel teachers are someone they can approach about personal problems. They do not want the teachers to know about their problems because they feel teachers are judgmental. They also don't want to approach their peers because they have the same fear of being judged. Students stated that they have felt helpless and have had no one to talk to about their personal problems. They want a guidance counselor who can help solve their problems but keep the problems confidential, as well as take them seriously. Currently, many students feel that there is no one at home or at school they can talk to about their problems. After interviewing their parents, I've realized that everyone is in favor of incorporating guidance counselors within the school system. Parents like the idea that their child has someone to talk to that is trained rather than the child's friends at school. They feel counselors would increase the school and parent interaction and they would feel more involved with their child's education. They would also like to develop a relationship with the child's guidance counselor and be more involved and supportive in the child's education and development. They feel the incorporation is a great opportunity to expose unnoticed bullying or discrimination their child might feel at school. This could help solve and expose personal issues that the child was not comfortable discussing with their parent. Now, I've had the chance to talk to Tempain's principal about this issue. Now, she stated that many parents of children are on social assistance within this neighborhood, and guidance counselors can facilitate parents' access to community resources and decrease the effects of low income and poverty on students' physical and mental health. Guidance counselors can prepare students for challenges in the future with safe sex education because teen pregnancies are a prominent issue within this neighborhood. She also feels the incorporation of guidance counselors will strengthen the interdisciplinary team effort to promote student learning and may result in less student and teacher conflicts, which is an issue within the school. Now, when a student inappropriately behaves in class, instead of sending the student to the office, the principal stated that there would be a guidance office that the student could be sent to. This would allow the student to address his or her behavior in a healthier way and develop stronger and healthier coping skills. Now, I've contacted TDSB, but I haven't gotten any responses. But their website does state how they feel about social workers and guidance counselors. Now, the school does feel that social workers and counselors help children, families, teachers, and administrators maximize a child's educational experience. But they feel there is already a social support team in place that is available to every school. They can be contacted through the school's principal. Now, once a student is referred to these social services, they are offered individual counseling for a variety of issues. This provided that the issue is expressed to an authority figure such as a teacher or a principal. Now, if the students do not feel comfortable expressing their concerns to teachers or other authority figures within the school, their problems will be left unresolved, and therefore this social support team that is in place is no longer helpful for these students.
I'm here at the Canterbury Clinic, and the staff here concerned, worried, and frustrated upon hearing the cutbacks within the public school system. The fact that guidance counselors are no longer considered mandatory staff only increases the health disparity found within teen addicts. The Canterbury Clinic is a non-profit alternative to chemical and substance abuse therapy. They offer a wide range of services, staffing addiction counselors, social workers, physicians, and homeopaths. After speaking to one counselor, she stated that the majority of addicts state that they begin to either abuse alcohol or drugs in their adolescent years. According to Health Canada, the average age of drug use has been reported to be between 15 to 24. Teenagers are extremely impressionable at this age and require guidance and someone to talk to mentor them through their social issues. In the long run, cutting funding from guidance counselors will eventually lead to individuals taking back from the system, says one social worker. She states that most of her clients are either on ODSP or OW due to their addiction. ODSP is the Ontario Disability Support Program. It is provincial assistance to those individuals diagnosed with a valid disability to aid them with their living expenses. She states that with addiction, most clients suffer from depression or anxiety disorders. This qualifies them to receive assistance. OW is the Ontario Works Assistance Program. It too is provincially funded to serve those who are currently in temporary need to cover food and housing costs. Given that most clients are receiving either of these assistance programs, cutting back on educational expenses will most probably lead to more provincial spending. After speaking to the director of the clinic, he stated that the provincial government is not the only stakeholder involved in the issue. Rather, it involves communication between each level of government, from federal to municipal. Members of Parliament have to realize that the overwhelming statistics regarding substance abuse. Stats Canada stipulates that 1 out of 6 people will suffer from some sort of addiction or substance abuse in their lifetime. The director goes on to say that we don't have the infrastructure to handle those numbers. The issue revolves around funding, whether it be from the public sector or private. After mentioning guidance counselor cutbacks to a parent of a client here at the clinic, she stated her grief. Her son, 15 years of age, is in his teenage prime and suffers from marijuana addiction. She stated that our children are at school for the better part of the day. We don't only need educators but guidance counselors as well to address the pressures our kids face. Addiction clinics, the government, and the public all have a stake in the issue. This is Syed Alam reporting from the Canterbury Clinic.
In order to better understand the factors that affect early childhood development, we analyzed 2 schools within the Toronto District School Board. The first school is in Downsview Rotting, which is a relatively low-income community on Toronto's West End. The second school is in Guildwood, a more affluent community on the east end of the GTA. Additionally, we have assessed clients currently undergoing treatment at an addictions clinic in the Greater Toronto Area in order to uncover some of the root causes that lead to their substance abuse problems. Careful observation, analysis of statistical data, community member interviews, and correspondence with key stakeholders has allowed us to uncover the following trends. The formation of beneficial health habits are strongly influenced during early childhood. Thus, children living in low-income circumstances tend to experience poor child health, development, and well-being outcomes. However, there has been an observed high prevalence of behavioral issues such as bullying and disrespect for authority, increased levels of stress, and lack of readiness to learn amongst children across the school board regardless of socioeconomic status. There is a lack of support provided to students within the school setting. Thus, these issues are not adequately addressed. Lastly, a common theme with clients who seek help at the addictions clinic is a lack of support and counseling they received in their childhood.
Okay, so what we're seeing is a correlation between root causes of addiction and insufficient social support networks in the school. The presence of social support in our schools is constantly decreasing due to budget cuts and layoffs. Conversely, the prevalence of individuals suffering from addictions related to a lack of childhood support is constantly increasing. Our proposed policy change is to increase social support networks for children within the school system in order to promote early childhood development. Subsequently, These children will have an increased health, well-being, and potential to strive later on in life, as well as a decrease in falling under mental health problems, which lead to substance abuse and addiction. Our first strategy is to maintain adequate staff-to-student ratio. Layoffs and staff cutbacks often lead to an increase in class sizes, thus decreasing the teacher's ability to reach individual needs of the students and their ability to form meaningful and supportive relationships. A facilitator for this strategy would be to enforce a cap on class sizes. Our second strategy would be to increase the presence of social workers and guidance counselors in the school environment.
Okay. The problem is, Natasha, lack of resources such as money and space is always a barrier in implementing change. Many of the schools in the GTA are already over capacity, and there is a lack of space that would be needed to create offices for guidance counselors. Also, as it stands, TDSB already invests less than it should in special education and other programs to support students with demographically influenced special needs. Additionally, there's a lack of investment being made in arts, physical education, and libraries. The organization of social services in the education sector has also changed over the years. The budget cuts have led to a drop in employment of non-teaching staff. The TDSB has already eliminated the following positions to save $90 million. Secretaries, school community advisors, child and youth counselors, attendance counselors, and school nurses. Additionally, they have reduced the number of vice principals and reevaluated the position of social workers in the system. But let's look at some values. The Toronto District School Board's budget for the year is $3 billion. The average salary for a guidance counselor in Toronto is $45,000. There are 451 elementary schools and 105 secondary schools. However, most secondary schools within the school board already have guidance counselors. Excluding all costs and focusing on salary, to hire one guidance counselor for every elementary school would cost 451 schools times $45,000. That's $20,295,000, but that's not even 1% of the TDSB's budget. Moreover, to employ one guidance counselor for 3 schools would cut the cost down to $6,765,000. However, without external support such as community action, participation of organizations and other key stakeholders, as well as funding from the government, I don't think implementing this proposed policy change is possible.
You bring up some very valid points, and in response to the barriers that you noted, our third strategy aims to decrease the financial strain on the TDSB and acquire financial support from external sources. A facilitator to this strategy is to implement a government-run program similar to the Nursing Graduate Guarantee, but for social workers, which would encourage the hiring of new grads and help to decrease costs in 2 ways. The first way is that the government will pay for the salary of these new grads for the first 6 months post-graduation. And secondly, novice workers have respectively lower salaries than more experienced counselors. This program will be limited to the school setting to encourage the presence of social workers in schools. This will significantly contribute to the social and mental well-being of children who will have regular access to these resources. Another facilitator is to encourage community participation and donation of resources. This can be achieved through the government providing incentives for companies such as the charitable donations tax deduction. That encourages them to donate textbooks, supplies, computers, sports equipment, etc. The money saved on these donations will be essential and could be put towards teachers, social workers, and guidance counselor salaries. This will result in an increase in these positions in that school environment, which would provide the necessary supportive care to the children of Toronto.
Inequalities and the socioeconomic status of individuals and their communities can heavily impact early childhood development, which is a key determinant in overall health, well-being, and the ability of an individual to strive later in life. However, after analyzing children within the school system on opposite ends of the economic spectrum, it is evident that providing more accessible social support networks in schools will help to promote early childhood development. Implementing this policy change could help counteract and compensate for some of the burdens placed on these children due to socioeconomic discrepancies, such as allowing expression of feelings, guidance with conflicts and problems, and referrals to community resources, support to teachers in facilitating academic growth and development for more troubled students, provide alternatives to discipline, such as problem solving with a counselor versus detention. Collectively, this can help facilitate development of healthier coping skills, lifestyle habits, and promotion of physical and psychological well-being. Subsequently, these individuals will have an increased potential of success in occupation, family life, and so on, and thus will be more likely capable of being contributing members within society in their adulthood. Additionally, implementing this change can potentially decrease costs associated with mental health care, law enforcement, homeless shelters, addictions clinics, and other health and social services that may otherwise be used by these individuals later in life. These resources can then be reallocated to fund and continue to support sustainability for the implications of this policy. This is York U Metro News, leaving you with some food for thought.